In today's complex business environment, leaders need not only to be prepared for the worst, but also to build their resilience. At The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters' Sonja Stirnimann invites top executives, board members, and industry experts to reflect and talk about the realities of corporate integrity, risk, and ethical leadership. As an international governance authority, independent director, and entrepreneur, she understands the challenges leaders face. Integrity and ethical leadership are not just principles. They build resilience, enhance reputation, and create strategic competitive advantage for organizations and for individuals.
Today, I'm honored to welcome my colleague Maya Bundt. I highly appreciate her contribution. She chairs the steering committee for the implementation of the national cyber strategy in Switzerland and supports a number of national and international initiatives in the space of cyber and digital risks. She also serves as chair of the cyber resilience chapter of the Swiss Risk Association in Switzerland and is the former cyber practice leader of Swiss Re, one of the global player of reinsurance. In short, Maya is a professional board member and cybersecurity enthusiast. In my discussions with global leaders, I never settle for the obvious. What is written in her resume tells only part of her story, but what truly shapes leadership and corporate integrity is what we learn now today when we talk to her. Today, we also explored unseen factors that influence decision-making, risk, and resilience at the top. What experiences have shaped today's guest? What can be learned from someone who was so deeply involved in all the cyber resilience in the past, but also today? Let's dive into Maya's insights on when it comes to questions of ethical leadership, corporate integrity in combination with cybersecurity. I'm honored to have you here, Maya. Let's get started.
Thank you for having me, Sonja.
So we already discussed what we would like to, how should we say, have in focus today, and we came up to more than 15 podcast episodes. That's what you said. So let's start with the first one, and I'm sure it would be great to have you here another time. So when you reflect on the roles you have right now and the different roles, what is the experience you have now when it comes to cybersecurity? Because I think you often are maybe the only expert at the table. What roles does corporate integrity play in your current different roles with your extensive experience in cybersecurity?
Yeah, so I'm a professional board member. I serve on different boards in Switzerland, listed companies, as well as non-profits. Integrity is a really important topic for myself, because I'm asked and elected to the boards as a person, right? I'm not elected there as a company, as an organization. It's just me. And what I have is obviously my experience, it's my expertise, and it's my integrity. So integrity for me is really a core value that I need to bring, and I need to bring it also into the boardroom. I have to be there with my experience, my expertise, my best intentions to do my duty in that boardroom, which also requires sometimes a bit of courage. But that is really important. So that is the reflection on myself. If I look into integrity in the organization, that is crucial. In the board, you have only so much information that you get, right? Which you can base your decisions on. And you can never oversee everything. You are, a big step removed from the operations usually. And what you get is information, in reports, etc. And you talk to people. You get to see the executive management. You get to see, for example, the chief information security officer in respect to cyber risk. So their integrity, that they, show you what's really going on, that they don't hide anything from you. That is basically the main reason why you can do your job as a board member. So integrity of the people that you work with, integrity of the organization, but also your own integrity is for me a really, really important topic.
Absolutely. And that's what you said, first it starts with yourself or with ourselves. So what kind of integrity level do we have? What do we also expect from others, I think? And when you choose your boards you're going to serve, I assume, based on what you told us right now, you really do your due diligence and try to get enough information to make your judgment whether you would like to do that or not.
Yeah, you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. Because also each and every board that you serve on is you represent something there, and in the same way as the board needs to find you and you need to fit into the board and what the chairperson needs, but at the same time, if you're thinking about going or serving on another board, it's really important that it's not only you look at the industry or how much you can actually bring to the table, but also how you can act in that boardroom. And I think that is really important.
And I think what I also see, serving in boards, but also supporting boards, the dynamics also change. It doesn't mean that the sum of all individual integrities sum up in the corporate integrity. So depending on the dynamics you have in boardrooms, it could also go in a different direction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always dynamics at play, and there's always, things like time pressure. There's always, maybe the board composition changes. Maybe there are a lot of factors there that influence how you interact, how you take decisions, etc. And that absolutely can change. It doesn't stay the same.
Absolutely.
Keeps it interesting as well.
Absolutely. And also corporate integrity, it's not the sum of all individuals. It's really what we shape, at the top, but also when it goes down to the organization. So, but now
It is to kind of interrupt you here quickly. It starts with the individuals, right? So I think if you do not have individuals that apply very high integrity level, then it's very difficult to have an organization that acts that way.
Absolutely. So now with your experience, also when it comes to cyber and cyber resilience, maybe we should also stay now in the boardroom. So what do you see? What are the blind spots you observe in different boards? Not only the ones you serve, but also other ones, or what you see in your industry, because you also did and still do a lot of research when it comes to cybersecurity management. Are there blind spots? Do you think the maturity level increased? I hope so. Or what are the tips you could now also bring to our audience when it comes to these potential blind spots we have as boards, but maybe also as executive teams?
Okay, there I have to probably start a little bit high level, kind of 100 miles above the earth. We're talking about blind spots. The most difficult things is to actually understand where the blind spots are, because you don't see them usually. If you see them, they are not blind, right? So that is the main problem with the blind spots. And that is you've said in your very kind introduction, I have spent 20 years with Swiss Re, which is a global reinsurance company. So I'm very kind of geared towards thinking about risks, etc. These blind spots in risk, you always have the question of the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns as well. And we're talking, for example, about black swans, which are events that happen totally out of the blue. Obviously, with hindsight, you sometimes see, well, it wasn't a black swan at all. We all knew about it. So I think, well, the first point really to drive home is real blind spots you can't see. And so it's even more important that you're prepared for the unexpected, right? So that is my point number one. Point number two, as I said, with a lot of black swan events, they happen, and then you say, but we could have actually seen that coming. I give you one very concrete example. COVID-19, right? The pandemic happened, and the world was aghast, right? Oh my goodness, we never thought that could happen, right? Coming from insurance, coming from reinsurance, we had the models to model a pandemic. It was always one of the big events. Everybody knew it, and in the end, it happened, and everybody said, "Oh, wow, Didn't think it would happen.
May I interrupt you here?
Yes,
Because
please.
we have exactly that. I also hear that. A lot of people said that it was a black swan. It wasn't, because also when we go back to, for example, just one of the reports from the World Economic Forum we have every year in January, it was on the list on the 10 top risks. Always.
Of course it was.
And that's the reason why I asked you about the blind spots, because I think often people think there are blind spots, but if they would be open and also learn from other industry and also exchange and share information or experiences, that's how we can learn. We can also learn from others and not only our own pitfalls. You know what I mean? So that's
You are taking the words out of my mouth, Sonja.
Sorry, this was not.
No, absolutely. And this is exactly the second point that I wanted to basically make here is if we look beyond our silos. If we, in German, we have this nice saying, über den Tellerrand hinausschauen, which means kind of looking, beyond your immediate surrounding, then there is so much that we can learn. And so I think it's crucial for board members, but also for organizations as a whole, to stay interested, to go beyond their own kind of experiences, keep their eyes open. And that also drives home the reason why there should be diversity.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because otherwise, that's what I always say, our risk landscape cannot be complete if we are not doing so. Because we are often sticking to our environment, our industry, maybe also our socialization. But if you compare it with just other sources, we can learn so much. And, already increasing the awareness protects us from potential risks or not being prepared for the risk, which is always an upside and a downside. So because risks are not dangerous at all. Exactly. Any other points to add here?
To the blind spots. Yeah, so I think what I said is blind spots is difficult to see. Thus, preparation for the unexpected is important. Second point, being open and taking in all the diversity that one as one can to try to suss out what's happening. I think here we also need to again make use of the people that we have, right? Listening is, I think, a very important skill, and a lot of people with a lot of experience can probably smell if something is going to happen, even if they are very, low in the organization, and that should be taken seriously. So a lot can be said for the culture in the organization and how people are taken seriously when they, come with a concern or something that they see on the horizon.
And a lot of knowledge, that's exactly what you said, is already in the organization. That's also what we see when we do, for example, these kind of workshops, thinking like a fraudster. If people once, and really the people in the organization, and not the ones from externally coming with good advices, but just moderating internal employees who know the organization, who also know where the vulnerabilities are. There is so much information the organization can just take up and reduce the risks by implementing also the low-hanging fruits when it comes to prevention.
Yeah. And this is also where I think if you're talking about blind spots, they might be blind to some, but they might not be blind to others. And this is where I think this third point really is important, is kind of taking in the knowledge and the experience of the people that work here who know what's happening or might kind of feel what's happening, even if it's not there, and kind of picking this up. I think this is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the knowledge is already here, but maybe not heard or not listened to.
Yeah. And you have examples of that, right? When a lot of people were super surprised when the CrowdStrike event happened, right? Oh my goodness. It wasn't an attack, right? It was an update that wasn't tested correctly. And I bet you in half of the organizations that were hit, some people could have told you, there is a risk here. We actually need to cover that. Yeah. Exactly. So I think that is it's important. That is obviously not something that that we can absolutely steer out of the boardroom, right? Or do actively. But again, here the question is, do we have the right people in the executive management who actually, listen and lead the organization in a way that this is allowed? And also having a look and watching what's the culture like in the organization. So people can openly talk about risk that they see or, concerns that they have. And that is just not just pushed aside or people are not taken seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. So the culture is key when it comes to corporate integrity and also reducing risk.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you think back, because as I did also said in the introduction, I always want to know a little bit more about the person I have here in my in my podcast. So is there a moment you can share when your own personal integrity was under pressure?
Yeah, there are probably tons of examples, but I can think back on one where I was asked by superior to lead a project that I just knew wouldn't work. I knew from my experience and my expertise that this was not a good investment of time and money. And I told him, and he insisted on that project to work. So that was the time when we then parted ways.
Okay. What would you have needed? What kind of support would you have needed to navigate the situation differently?
I think it was a good I mean, the situation was as it was. And I think that probably happens a lot of time. I just could not do something that I knew would bring harm to my team, would bring, not real harm, but at least would throw us back, couple of years, spend a lot of money. I couldn't do it. And I think this is important that everybody knows where their red line is. And if you do not have then the support in the organization, maybe by other people or whatnot, then the only thing that you can do is leave.
Absolutely. Yeah. But by leaving, it doesn't mean that the project was not harming the organization
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
That's true, huh?
Yeah. That is true. And if you are not in that position of power, then that's the only thing that you can do. And you can speak truth, and you can, make sure that you be professional, but then that is out of your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's also the question I would have asked you right now. What would be the advice for the next generation, in such kind of situation? And you said already, if you don't have the power, that's the only possibility to act.
But I think it's important, right, that you, for yourself, if we were talking about integrity earlier, that you absolutely know where your red lines are. And that you also make that clear to your environment, right? And, I could have been wrong. That project could have been the next best thing after sliced bread. I mean, totally, right? It wasn't. So I felt obviously vindicated in my decision afterwards. But it could have been that, I was wrong. But I still think it was the right thing to do for me to look out for the, for the bigger picture and for the larger kind of goal, right? Because it would have been much easier to just do that project, and that would have been the easy way out.
And it really goes back to what you said at the very beginning. It's your own integrity level you have, and when we listen now to you, it's really a very high level of integrity you show and you bring to the table, and that's exactly what organizations need.
It can be difficult, though, to work with such people all the time who are always, honestly, you're laughing, Sonja. I think there is a line to be drawn, right? I have been a manager for a very long time, and there is not always, not every decision that is taken above me is one that I would have taken. And sometimes you also have to run with decisions that would not have been your own, right? And here, this is where I say this red line is a really fine line, right? And you have to be very careful, because you cannot go against everything that is not in your own, of your own making. There is a lot that you have to do that is not in your own making, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the difference between the own making approach, what you said right now, and the own integrity. And that's really the fine line. And I was not laughing about what you said. It was rather also remembering, when I had to when I was at the point at that red line, and I said, no, now it's enough. And it was not because it was not my own making. I wasn't able to do that, but really because it went completely against my values and my own integrity. And as you said, it's not always easy to work with people having that kind of integrity level, but some people cannot do differently. As I, for example, if the red line is achieved, then I have to also display that, communicate, and go on with the consequences.
And that's always a difficult situation, right? Because there might a lot might be hanging on that, right? It might be your job, it might be your reputation, it might be, people you work with that are impacted. So there is a lot that so it's not something to do lightly. And thus I think it's very important that people, early on in their careers already kind of start thinking about what are my values, where am I fine to go with the flow, and also, support the broader strategy, the broader picture. But what are the instances, what are the areas where I don't make compromises?
Absolutely. And it really comes with, I don't know how it was at your with your experiences, but it comes with sleepless nights, a lot of sleepless nights, thoughts, and also with the price.
It hurts. Yeah, it hurts. And that is not to be dismissed at all. Yeah.
So thank you very much also for sharing these personal insights, because I think that's also important for the audience, because there are so many people out there having exactly the same thoughts, and it's hard to make that decision sometimes, and it takes a lot of courage to do so.
Yeah, and sometimes it works for you and sometimes it doesn't, right? That is also...
At the end, we're all smarter, and but at the moment when we decide, we have all the information at that time, and retrospectively we know more, but in that situation, not. Yeah. So as said, there are so many other questions I would have right now, but as we promise our audience that we are not running out for more than 30 minutes, I have a question. Would you be willing that we just go on also with a lot of more or deeper insights when it comes to cyber topics another time?
Of course, I love to talk about cyber.
So, but then we really have to do another one. So then I would really say, now we stop it for here, and I promise to the audience that you are going to be here again soon. We don't know exactly when, because I know you are also super busy. And Maya, thank you very much for your valuable insights already now, also sharing your personal reflections today, because I think it's super important also for the ones maybe starting their career right now. I'm sure this was not the last one, as you promised right now, and I'm looking forward to continue our conversation here in that format, but also when we meet here in Switzerland at other events, and we will do so. I highly appreciate your contribution, also what you do here in Switzerland with the organizations you are involved in. And I wish you not only patience with your stakeholders, but also continue on your continuing path of personal success. So whatever it means for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sonja.
This was another episode of the Human Factor Corporate Integrity Matters, with one of my highly appreciated colleagues and guests, Maya Bundt. Here, where we uncover the leadership strategies that define governance, risk, and resilience, and we already decided that we are going to have other episodes together with Maya, focusing on specific topics when it comes to cybersecurity and cyber management. Guided by the principle that corporate integrity is the foundation of trust, resilience, and long-term success. Thank you for listening. I'm Sonja Stirnimann, your host. Stay aware, act decisively, and lead with integrity. Take care and have a good time.